Welcome in everyone, welcome back. Let's let those guys slide on past. Before we get into it, I just wanted to try to change the format a little bit. I was not able to speak while I was playing for this session. I'm going to use that as an opportunity to see if we can get maybe a better visual experience here, a better watching experience. I've chosen to just hop into the action here. As you can see, we are working on the trial, and my vehicle of choice is the Ferrari F355. I believe that this is one of the faster vehicles for this challenge. This and the Lamborghini Diablo are both great choices. The Diablo you get for free as a barn find at some point. I have not went through and claimed all of the barn finds yet, so I didn't have that as an available option. I built two cars for the trial, the Jaguar XJ220, which is the vehicle that most people are probably going to buy if they don't have the Diablo. When I built it out, it was very, very uncompetitive. For both challenges that I built multiple cars for, there was one car that was clearly the favorite. And for the trial, the Ferrari was about 4 seconds faster in the time trial. I will put those side by side. As you can see, I'm not winning right now, but I think I take a second in this race and a third in the second race. There's not a whole lot you can do about the initial traffic within the race. As you can see, this car does have fantastic top end. We gained a lot of ground right here coming into this corner. This car brakes really well. It has good turn in. It doesn't oversteer despite having really aggressive dampers on it. I don't do a great job of coming around this section of the track. I should have just not done the cowardly thing and slid around the corner, but I was trying to be a tryhard, and it didn't really do me any favors here. But I wasn't really upset about that result either. Earlier in the challenge, there was that portion where the Porsche ended up passing me in the turn because I misjudged it. But overall, I was pretty happy with that. As you can see for this one, I start way back at the end of the pack. And it's up to me to wheel this thing around and get past everybody. Everybody just kind of piles in there, runs into the back of each other. You know, Horizon 6 has a very different collision system than the Motorsport series. In the Motorsport series, you can really push people around. It's a very simulation-like experience. Here, not the case, and that's probably for the better. There's not a whole lot of downside to just running into people at maximum speed, and you can't really manipulate people to get out of your way. You know, every vehicle is like a brick, and you can kind of see that in this section of the track. I've got people bumping into the back of me. I've got people braking too hard. You know, this guy's got full aero, and he's not taking advantage of it. His car's not tuned to take advantage of this section of the track specifically. The two tracks that were chosen for this event are fairly different, but in these street racing events, it's, you know, as I've said it time and time again, it's very much a brake, rotate, go, as opposed to high-speed corners. Having a car with slightly less camber to maximize braking force is a big part of that. This car gets power down really well, and you can still manipulate it. Brakes really well. There's nothing unstable in here. Unfortunately, I don't get enough of a run to make up the time and catch up to the Diablo in front of us. Right here is probably where it's at its weakest. As you can see, this vehicle doesn't have any added aero. The high-speed corners are where the Diablo is going to get an advantage on the Ferrari. And the Ferrari isn't necessarily weak here. It's just not optimized for this section of the track. It's very almost understeer biased. We take third place right here, and with all that traffic and the run that they got at the beginning of the track, I'm not upset about that result. So I didn't record the initial build of the vehicle, so I'm going to quickly run through it with you guys, the parts and the final touches that I threw in on the tune. I actually went back and adjusted it after I won that championship. I ran it around the track a couple of times just to really dial it in and get it straight. To put it short and sweet, I'm pretty sure that every available engine upgrade was put on this vehicle. This is the 4.5 swap, which I believe is a Ferrari engine. But it needed all of the power and a centrifugal to get to the top of A-Class. Now, that centrifugal does give it a PI advantage, and that is one of the main reasons why this car is so fast for the challenge. Stock brakes, race suspension all the way around, full cage. That's kind of just my preferences for how to build these cars out. I know most people don't like to put weight back into the car. I tend to do that. Stock clutch, didn't really feel the need to take any extra time off of that gear shift. We're not shifting gears constantly like some cars. Obviously race diff. For tires, we went stock. We were going to have to keep any vehicle in this class on stock tires. Now, I did add a little bit of tire width in the front and the rear to bump the PI up. There was still plenty of space to get this to the top of A-Class with all the other parts that I threw at it. If I could have added another 50 horsepower, that would have been truly ideal. And I'd just like to clarify that you could bump the P up by obviously putting on a different tire compound, but for the trial in A-Class especially, you're going to have to keep those stock tires on the car if you want to keep up with everyone else. While I would have liked to have seen more power in the car, it was very drivable. And this is a good all-around car. I wouldn't just drive this for this challenge. This is a very good car for street races, and as long as the track doesn't have high-speed corners, this is a really, really fun car to drive. So just to go over a couple of things on the tune. Tires were left at stock tire pressure. I lowered them, I raised them. I didn't see any benefit to lowering them to get any more grip. The car didn't really need it. It didn't have enough power to spin the rear tires, and it didn't seem to hold the road any better at lower tire pressures. Raising the tire pressure seemed to take a little bit of grip out, so I left that stock. Gearbox in this car is spectacular for a stock vehicle. This is exactly what you want to see. There was absolutely no reason to upgrade to a race transmission with how tight and close the gears are for this car. First gear's long. It goes up to, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, lets the car spool up, and then all the other gears are really tight, close together. That's exactly what you want. Looking at the alignment, this is very, very conservative in terms of camber. If we were setting this car up for circuit racing, this would not be enough camber front or rear to allow to car the corner properly. But for these street racing tracks where braking and corner exit grip is the priority, the car has been optimized for that sort of thing. So this is kind of a general idea of what that looks like in most cars, really. Because this car has a lot of weight in the back, that's why you see a bit higher of a rear to front bias in the camber than some cars. And while I'm not always a fan of using 7 degrees in front caster, for this application it makes sense. As with a lot of my cars, this thing has 165 on the anti-roll bars. This actually has 265. I don't know why I put 2 instead of 1. I think I just goofed on that. Now, for most cars that I build out, I usually would have a lot more spring rate in the car. And the reason for that is so that I get more road feel out of it. But because of the application and the overall chassis rigidity, I was able to get away with running really, really soft suspension and a really low ride height. That helped us out, especially at higher speeds. Lowering the suspension down improves the aerodynamics. That's why for these street races, I typically leave the suspension on the ground as much as possible. For the suspension dampers, I went fairly conservative on that. for these street racing builds, I usually have a bit higher bump stiffness than on circuit racing cars. When you raise up the bump stiffness, it lowers the overall grip threshold, but it makes the car easier to drive. And you can actually see here, I lower it down because this car had no issues with instability. I think I could have gotten away with sub 3 if I really wanted to, but for the sake of drivability and user friendliness, I left it where I did right here. You might notice that the front rebound is a lot lower than the rear rebound. What that does is on corner exit, that allows the rear end of the car to slide out a bit more. And since this is a mid-engine car, that weight bias means that if I would have left that the same, the rear would have trouble on corner exit. Despite the fact that the rear rebound is that high, again, there's no problems with stability in this car. It's very, very controllable on corner exit. When it does slide, it's a very graceful maneuver, and that's part of the driving experience. I'm gonna go ahead and throw up the Jaguar and the Ferrari next to each other. To test both of these vehicles out, I ran them against each other on the second race of the championship, that race being the sprint around the docks. It should be fairly easy to see where the Jaguar loses time to the Ferrari. After that, we'll go over some of the reasons why the Jaguar was significantly slower, and I'll run you guys through the build process and some of the selections on that. So there's no question about it, immediately within that first turn you can see what the problem is with the Jag. There's not enough power. And despite the fact that it doesn't have enough power, it doesn't really want to stay planted on corner exit. And the thing of it is that Jaguar has a lot going for it. It's got good aerodynamics, it's got a huge footprint, it's a much bigger car than the Ferrari, and despite all of that, it is a ton slower. It is worth noting that the Jaguar bone stock is about 100 PI points higher than the Ferrari, and what that does ultimately mean is that the Jaguar is probably more optimized for being an S1 or maybe even an S2 build. I'm not sure, I haven't fully built one of these out in a very long time. And while you can kind of see that the Jaguar does have a little bit of an issue on corner exit, and I could have tuned that out possibly with a little bit more rear spring or damping adjustment. There's nothing I could do to really get them in line in terms of how much time the Ferrari was putting in between itself and the Jaguar. And you can see at the end of the track, it really does look competent in those faster sections, but that's only 3 or 4 corners and maybe 20% of the track. It's never going to be as fast as the Ferrari on this track, no matter what kind of upgrades you put on it. What you're looking at is 4 entire seconds on a 3-minute track. That is a lot of time. And on top of that, that run with the Ferrari was the first run that I did with it. The Jaguar, that was like 8 or 9 attempts trying to get a really, really good optimized run with it. I probably should have went back and adjusted the suspension to get it more planted on corner exit, but I don't see any universe where that's going to cut 4 seconds off of that time. I did end up running a full championship with the Jaguar, and this kind of confirms what the time trial already told us. I am a lot slower than the Lamborghinis, and I don't think the Lamborghinis are as fast as the Ferraris. I wouldn't say that the Jaguar is completely unusable for this challenge, but it's definitely not ideal, and I would just stick to using. Hopefully you got the Ferrari last week, and if not, the Lamborghini's a fine choice as well. I think it's rated higher in terms of PI than the Ferrari from bone stock, and that's kind of the main thing that makes the Ferrari better, as well as a slightly smaller dimensions overall. So what we have here is the first culprit in why the Jaguar is so slow in this challenge. 345s from the factory are far too wide for A-class. I don't think that there's any car in A-class that could have 2,000 horsepower. I don't think that any car needs more than 305s in the back. I didn't check to see what the Ferrari had. I'm going to assume it's somewhere between 265s or 285. I'm not sure, but a car with 600 horsepower doesn't need 345s in the back. The other problem with the Jaguar is the engine setup. It has a small displacement V6 with twin turbos on it, and it makes great power, but it makes it in the complete opposite way that the Ferrari does. Those two turbochargers are doing all the legwork, whereas the Ferrari doesn't really make power until 5 or even 6,000 RPM. And on top of that, because the Ferrari has that centrifugal supercharger, it kind of cheats the PI system a little bit. People have known for a very long time that the centrifugal supercharger is kind of a cheat code, and if you're trying to build a competitive car for time trials, it's pretty much a requirement. I didn't check to see if any of the swappable engines in the Jaguar had the ability to throw the centrifugal supercharger on there. I think that would have really been the only way to make it competitive, and even with that, I don't think it would have been as fast as the Ferrari in any circumstance, just because that car is ginormous. The Jaguar was originally designed to house a power plant that was a lot larger in size and weight, and I think that's a big reason why the car is so big and the tires are so wide on the rear. So for one of the other weekly events, I threw together this 99 Viper GTS. As you'll notice, it's already sitting at 598, and that doesn't give you a whole lot of room to work with. So essentially all I did was threw suspension on it and put wheel spacers on it. I didn't even put wheels on it. I thought it would have been sacrilege to take the 6 lugs off of there, so I just left that alone. I also did end up building a Cobra Mustang for this challenge, and I would have thought that that would have been the faster car, but it didn't end up being faster. It wasn't nearly as drastic as the difference between the Jaguar and the Ferrari, but for the time trial I did, it was about 2 seconds slower, which is enough to throw it by the wayside and just use the Viper. Out of the box, this car does handle really well considering the weight bias that's going on. The main thing that I had to do to get this car to be more agreeable was that unlike the Ferrari, I really had no road feel, even with the suspension jacked up way high. It's nearly maxed out, and if I could have, I probably would have put a little bit more spring rate in it. It kind of handles like a boat. Despite that, it really did a good job on the track. It doesn't necessarily feel bad, it's just vague, and I don't know if that's because of a lack of chassis rigidity or the weight or the tires, but I had to jack up the air pressure in the tires and the suspension just to get it to feel how I wanted it to feel. And even then, it's a little bit vague. Despite that vagueness, it was extremely competent on this road course setting. And that, on the flip side, that lack of road communication means that it's more stable as well. Another thing I'd like to highlight is that I drastically changed the gear ratios on this car. I essentially cut off 6th gear, and I did that because 6th gear is so much longer than 5th gear. It's okay if there's a little bit of an overdrive going on, but it completely ruined the performance of the car over 115 miles an hour. It would shift into 6th gear and it would just fall on its face. That Viper V10 has plenty of torque. I just let it run as a 5-speed, and that significantly improved the performance of the car over 100 miles an hour. So as you can see right there, we are probably at some sort of power or weight disadvantage right here. I've chosen to spec into suspension. I don't assume that most people would on a car that only has 2 PI left to spare. This was a really good race overall. I'm doing what I have to do to keep up with the black car, and while that first section of the race was pretty neck and neck and it looked like he was going to get away from me, going into this race, I didn't realize it was going to be in the wet, but I think that helped us, not hurt us. You can see that I end up bumping the side of the wall at some point as well, but I tried to run a very ethical race here, and I think I did a pretty good job of that. Through this section of the track, he's doing a really good job at keeping up with me. He gains a little bit of time right here. I probably hit the brakes a little bit too hard. At this point, I'm just trying my best not to overdrive the car. I have a habit of doing that, and especially in the wet, I don't want to wipe out. See right here, I hit the brakes too hard in the last part, but it isn't very long before I end up getting past him again. He overdrives his car, and like I was talking about earlier, adjusted the gear ratios, and I think that that's why my car kind of in that 105, 110 mile an hour spot, I lose ground, and then I start to be faster than his car. So right here, it is insanely close, and I hit the brakes a little too hard. I get into this barrier, and I'm wondering if I'm gonna have to defend to get through to the finish line. I don't end up having to do it, and I don't think he would have been able to get past me anyways, but that was a really nice, clean race. This race, on the other hand, is a little bit of a different story. It's pretty comical watching my car just walk everybody. I get a little boost from this guy back here, and for a little bit, it stays close, but you'll see what happens. Once we get out of this section, you can kind of see what I was talking about. I hit 5th gear, the car slowly gets into the power band, and we put some distance between us and the guys behind us. I know that my car handles better than theirs is. My car is completely optimized in terms of alignment. I know what I'm doing, I know what the car is capable of, and there's not a whole lot of drama to this car. You know, the Viper in real life, especially the 1st and 2nd generation cars, are known for being very not user-friendly. In Forza Horizon, that's not the case. Right here you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I hit the brakes, there's not a whole lot of drama with the modulation there. It turns in really nicely, it's just a little bit vague and a little bit heavy feeling. You can see on corner exit the car kind of shimmies a little bit and I have to readjust, but if I was able to get the car a little bit tighter, I could have gotten a better line through there. Right here I end up overdriving the car completely, and even then it still stays composed. That's kind of the hidden benefit of having a car that's a little bit on the soft side. If I was building this tune out for someone else, I would probably, to combat that sort of corner exit movement, I would just bump up the differential deceleration just a little bit. Like I've stated many times, I'm not a fan of having that really high because it limits the amount of rotation you can get out of the car. I think for this build I have it set to 5%, and that's a pretty typical setup for me. Anything between 8 to 15% would be acceptable. I think that would still allow enough maneuverability in the tight corners, whilst improving corner exit for the faster stuff like you're seeing right here. At this point we've put multiple seconds between us and the people behind us. Despite all of my talk about how loose this car is and how vague it is, it really is a very competent build. And it did wonderfully on this track. And let me introduce you to our final victim of the video, a 92 Toyota Celica GT4. And I really didn't pick this vehicle for any specific reason other than the fact that I didn't already have one and I wanted to throw one together. The magic here is that there is a flat 4 swap. I would assume that that's out of Subaru. It may be a Porsche engine. Either way, it comes naturally aspirated, and you can throw a centrifugal supercharger on it. So once I saw that, I knew we were in for a treat. This was going to be a fast car for this event. The typical blueprint for one of these low-class rally cars goes something like this. If it's all-wheel drive, you want to put as much width on the rear wheels as possible, leave the fronts alone. Having an adjustable final drive is essential, and you can put rally suspension on it if you feel like it. For the most part, I just leave it alone. The factory suspension is usually close enough, although I do always put sway bars on it. You can really kind of tell that I started having fun here. I just blow past all the Cosworths and everybody else on my team, and on top of everything else, this challenge is also in the wet, so this car's even easier to slide around. It takes me basically no time to put 3 or 4 seconds behind everybody else. Especially getting up these hills, I have, I would guess, at least a 50 horsepower advantage, and on cars in C-Class that's huge. Right here, I'm just gonna fast forward to the part where I slowed down to let everybody pass me. One of our teammates had missed a checkpoint or something, so I slowed down so that everybody else could catch up. And then I, did what I do best. I ran through the pack, made light work of everybody else that was on the other team. Right here, I've made my way right back into second place. Get past them. I'm showboating a little bit, having a great old time. And then up here, I overshoot my, I swing the car a little bit too wide and I spin out. And I end up going through the trees. I'm like, I know there's a checkpoint over here somewhere I can hit. I put my foot to the floor. I'm trying to catch back up, but it's too late. I goofed. Still showcases how much power this car really does have, though, and how wonderful it is to have that centrifugal, especially once you get above about 90, 100 miles an hour in C-Class. For this next race, I was nice enough to give everybody else a little handicap, a little, head start. I want to say that was about 7 or 8 seconds. Come up to the first corner, not even worrying about it, not overdriving the car. I know I'm going to catch up. This is another one of those cars where the whole experience feels like a cheat code. This should be, deep into B class. So 20-25% of the race, we're already past all the AI opponents. I'm sliding around the wall, completely ignoring the driving line. And all I see after this is long straights, so I know we're about to hard charge way back to the front. Now, I had tuned the gearbox for this car. For the previous race, I hadn't tried this one out. After this race, I did end up lengthening the gearbox just a little bit because, as you can see, 125 miles an hour is not enough headroom for this car. With enough runway, I think the Escort might have been able to get past me, but it would have taken quite a while. So I'm going to wrap this up right here, guys. That's all I really got for you this week. Like I said, I did build quite a few other cars for these challenges, and these were the only ones that really felt competitive. Feel free to ask any questions below. I'll have the 3 built cars and their tunes posted. And feel free to say hi, say what's up. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week.